Today I want to make this video in defense of Putin because I think this charge from the ICC, International Criminal Court, is bogus. It is not only bogus, it is black propaganda. Now, before you turn off the YouTube channel, hear me out, alright? So I think it is black propaganda because of this. Number one, most of these kids, they accuse Mr. Putin or his orphanage director of taking away, or they accuse him of stealing from Ukraine were orphans. Other parts were from Donetsk and Luhansk, so these are Russian children, alright? These are Russian children who are, children of separatists. These are not, children of, they have parents, or even if they have parents, their parents sent them to the boarding schools. As you can see in this gray zone video, that this is not they're not taking them away to, I don't know what they're thinking.
Air Hotel in Pokrovsky. It turns out it was one of these so-called camps or schools that prompted allegations of kidnapping, abduction, re-education, and eventually an ICC arrest warrant. Funded by the Russian government, this hotel was turned into a makeshift sleepaway camp for children from Donetsk and Lugansk who were interested in the musical arts and whose parents wanted them away from the front lines. They called it the Donbass Express. I was able to look around and speak to children and teachers. The children stayed in the hotel and the teachers slept in cottages that surrounded the property. Peter Lundstrom is a professional violinist and a teacher at the school.
Но эта школа называется Донбасский экспресс, потому что здесь, сейчас, благодаря поддержке государственного фонда президентского, мы смогли привезти сюда 80 детей из Донецка и Луганска. Это талантливые музыканты, которых мы привезли на 12 дней сюда, и вот здесь они живут все вместе с нами, получают уроки у замечательных, выдающихся преподавателей, слушают концерты, получают новую информацию. В общем, такая история.
Just stealing them away for what? But no, these is these are orphanages, orphans moved to an orphanage from the war zone to Russia. If you were a kid, would you want to stay in a war zone? Actually, who's going to stay in a war zone? Who's going to take care of you? Because if I was an orphan director, a director of an orphanage, or if I worked in an orphanage, or as a volunteer and etc., I'm not going to fucking stay there, man. What the fuck? There's not much money. There's not any amount of money in the world you could pay me to stay while Ukraine and with all the NATO weapons like HIMARS and everything, and drones, and also Russia, which is also a very powerful country, duking it out in the middle of the in the streets with with missiles flying back and forth. That I'm just going to stay there taking care of kids. No fucking way. No fucking way, man. So, like I said, these are orphans who are moved out of the war zones, which you should. I mean, instead of being in the war zone, the best thing to do with them is move them out. So they they occupied that area, and so they moved the kids out that were orphans, or some parents, they want to send their kids away from the war zone, and they couldn't afford to go themselves to Russia and take care of them by themselves. So they sent them away. So that's the case, and we've seen this black propaganda before, using kids in the Cuba with Operation Pedro Pan, where black propaganda by the CIA and the Catholic Church, they're telling people that the Russians are going to the communist government of Cuba is going to send your kids away to Russia to get educated, and basically from now on your kids belong to the government. So people were so scared. They were saying that on the radio and on the on leaflets and stuff like that. People were whispering in people's ear, "Hey, did you hear about the new law? They're going to take away our kids." People were so scared that they sent their kids away, to America, all alone, just to the Catholic Church. And which is not the best idea if we know what I'm talking about. But anyway, what the Catholic Church. But anyway, moving on about that. Yeah. So there's Operation Pedro Pan. There's one also in Angola where they accuse again the Cubans and the Russians of stealing kids again, African babies. What to do what with them, I don't know. So, and I thought, like, before we were talking about that, what do you call him? Adolf Hitler. No, Mr. Putin. Senor Putin was Hitler, the Hitler of our time, and he was genociding Ukrainians. So if he was genociding Ukrainians, why wouldn't they like burn down the whole fucking orphanage? Why don't you just like mow down the orphanage? Or like send them to gas chambers? I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's what Hitler would do. If he wanted to wipe out all the Jews, or that's what they're trying to say, that Putin is trying to wipe out all the Ukrainians. So, as we have seen also over here in this video from Jimmy Dore.
On March 17th, 2023, the ICC issued a warrant of arrest for Putin over the unlawful deportation of children from Ukraine. It's comedy. Has the ICC forgotten Operation Baby Lift? In April 1975, over 3,000 Vietnamese children were flown out of Vietnam to be adopted by families in the United States and Australia. You remember this?
Including Australia, that the international community should be doing something about the orphans in Saigon.
The United States then made an announcement.
I have directed that money from a $2 million special foreign aid children's fund be made available to fly 2,000 South Vietnamese orphans to the United States as soon as possible.
President Ford's approval of the American baby lifts changed the political climate overnight.
The Americans started airlifting lots of orphans to the United States, seemingly without any problem. Australian couples in Australia were demanding of the government, why is it that the Americans can do these things so easily, yet we don't seem to be able to do that.
With the Americans setting the pace, the Australian government followed.
What appeared to be the political acceptable solution from Canberra was, we'll bring back a whole group of orphans, and we will be seen to be acting humanitarianly, and we will get a lot of the critics off our back who are saying that we're not doing enough.
We are proceeding as quickly as we can.
So you can see from this video, right, that Australians and Americans taking over orphans of Vietnamese orphans and taking them to their houses and etc. This the war was bad, but at least some people try to do good, and they try to adopt orphans because these were orphans. They had nobody to look after them, and Vietnam is a poor country that has suffered decades of warfare. So Australians and Americans adopted Vietnamese babies, or orphans, I should say so. So, which is a good, noble thing. So, how is that seem noble and not stealing kids? And this time, they're accused of stealing babies. And lastly, like I said before, like in my many videos, these are not what they call Russians and Ukrainians are not that dissimilar. These people share a common, similar language, similar ethnicity, same religion, and etc. and etc. Like thousands of years of shared history as well. So to say that moving kids from a war zone into Russia proper or Crimea is a war crime, I don't see it, man. But if you see it otherwise, let me know. Thank you. Bye.